Thanks for tuning in to the Wing Space podcast. This podcast is not a replacement for mental health treatment or professional health care. In case of crisis or emergency, please contact your local healthcare provider or dial 911.
Hey there, and welcome to the Wing Space podcast, a place to take up space. I am starting a 3-ish part series on habits, and so today I want to spend a little bit of time kind of introducing you to this idea of habits and give you some ideas about how to understand what habits are, how to begin starting some habits, and just a couple of examples and encouragement for you. A lot of this information that I'm going to share with you today comes from the book Atomic Habits, written by James Clear, and I would encourage you to take a listen on an audiobook or grab a copy at the library and read it, because he really breaks down habits in an interesting and easy way to apply it to everyday life. It's not a really scholarly book. It is scholarly, but it's not too heavy for the average person to read. So when we talk about habits, I want you to keep in mind that we all have them. Now, if anyone knows me personally, you know that I am kind of a habit and routine girl. I schedule, I plan, I like my planner and all those good things. But everyone has habits. Everyone has routines. Whether we think we do or not, we all have habits and routines. We all have things that we do without thinking about them.
It's that time of year to harness your holiday cheer with Hope and Healing at our latest wellness workshop. Join your fellow Southern Maryland community members at Hope and Healing in Leonardtown on Friday, November 17th from 6 to 7:30. We'll be learning new ways to harness your holiday cheer and create your very own custom aromatherapy blends to bring out your inner Cindy Lou Who and enjoy the holidays. On-site childcare will be provided for $5 a child, and registration is required, so sign up today by visiting our website, hopehealingtherapy.com, or visiting our link in bio on Instagram at Hope Healing Therapy Wellness.
And welcome back to the Wing Space podcast. We all have certain ways we put on our shoes, certain ways that we, get dressed in the morning. I remember reading an article one time about habits, and they were talking about, thinking about when you take a shower, do you wash your face first, or do you shampoo your hair first, or do you wash your body first? Like, what's the routine, the habit, the schedule and if you do it out of order? So I'll give you an example. I wet my hair, I wash my hair first, right? But if I were to wash my face first, then I might forget to shampoo my hair. So we all have habits and routines that we engage in. We just don't often think about them in that way. So I want you to consider today this idea that habits, not only do we all have them, but sometimes we have negative habits that are much easier to engage in than the good habits that we wish that we had. And I'm going to share with you how habits are formed according to James Clear's message in his book. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how you might start engaging in some habits and routines. So according to James Clear, again, Atomic Habits, fantastic book, he talks about a 4-step process. So there's a cue, there's a craving, there's a response, and there's a reward. So the cue is the thing that triggers the brain that the reward is coming, even though the reward is the last thing. The cue is what tells the brain that it's coming. And then the craving is kind of that motivational force, that internal force that sets us up to feel the feeling that the habit is going to bring. So for instance, brushing our teeth, right? It's a habit that most people do without really thinking about it. It fits into your schedule at a certain point. It's kind of the last thing I do before I leave the bathroom when I head into the kitchen for my morning routine. So I don't crave brushing my teeth. I crave the feeling that I have when my teeth are clean. From a bigger picture perspective, I crave healthy teeth, right? And that feeling that having a healthy mouth environment brings. So for me, there's a cue, which is maybe being in the bathroom in the morning, or kind of that last step in my morning routine is the cue that it's now time to brush my teeth. And then the craving is that feeling at the end. The response is actually brushing my teeth. And then the reward is that end goal, which is the thing that, the feeling that I get when my teeth are brushed. The reward satisfies the craving, but it also teaches us that our actions are worth doing and worth remembering. So if the reward didn't remind me of anything, then maybe I wouldn't do it, right? Because it wouldn't become the reinforcer. Now, this can happen for good habits and not so good or unhealthy habits. And sometimes what we have to do is we have to manipulate the environment in order to encourage the behavior or discourage the behavior. So when we're looking at cues, we want them to be obvious. So for me, I have a little cup next to my sink, and that's where my toothbrush and my toothpaste are. I don't have to dig for my toothbrush and my toothpaste every morning. So for a good habit, I want the cue to be obvious. And if it's something that's negative that I want to stop, a bad habit that I want to cease, then I'm going to make the cue invisible. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to take it out of my space. And then the craving, we want it to be attractive, right? We want it to be something that is healthy, that makes us happy, that feels good. And if it's a bad habit, then the craving has to be unattractive, has to be something that we really don't want. The response needs to be easy. We don't want it to be a 12-step process in order to create this, quote, habit. It needs to be easy. So for me, toothbrush, toothpaste, the response is I'm going to pick up the toothbrush, I'm going to put the toothpaste on my toothbrush, and I'm going to brush my teeth. That's it. I don't have to, find a new toothbrush, make brand new toothpaste. There's not a lot of things that I have to do. So it's not a difficult response. It's an easy response. And the reward is satisfying. And when we are able to remove negative habits, we also want to make sure that we're rewarded for not doing the thing. Okay. So again, James Clear has chapters about each of these things. I think Q has a chapter about good and bad. So there's 2 chapters on cueing and two chapters on cravings. It's a big concept, but really the idea is that there are constant cues within our life all day long. We're animals, and behavior modification is a thing, right? So we are cued all the time to do something, good or bad, healthy or unhealthy. And we want to make sure that the thing that we want to do is the craving itself is a attractive thing. It's an easy thing to do, and then we're satisfied at the end. So we want to start small. I'm not going to encourage you to go run a 5K today. But I might tell you to go walk for 5 minutes. And then tomorrow, maybe you're going to walk for 7 minutes. And then the next day, maybe you're going to walk for 6 minutes, and in the middle, you're going to jog for 1 minute. If you are a runner, if you're within the athletic world, you've probably heard of the Couch to 5K. It's the way that it's designed to be able to go from not running at all to running a 5K, because we start really small. I think that first day on a Couch to 5K, I think you jog for 30 seconds. Most Couch to 5Ks. 30 seconds. So if I say I'm going to run a 5K, and today I'm going to go run 30 seconds, in addition to, I think it's like 5 to 8 minutes of walking. It might seem kind of weird, but I'm going to be able to accomplish that because it's small. and then I'm going to keep going. So over the course of 8 to 10 weeks, I'm going to keep going. So it starts with running for 30 seconds, and then it goes up to 45 seconds, and then it goes up to 1 minute, and then it goes up to 2 minutes. So gradually increasing over time. Sometimes we think that our effort is not enough. And I want you to think about the idea of 1% better each day. And it's hard to quantify for some things what 1% is. So I'm going to give you an example that is actually in the Atomic Habits book, but it's an example that I use with my clients all the time. If I say that I want to wake up an hour before my family every day so that I can work out, I can read, I can, get ready myself, whatever it might be. If I say, let's say, this is part of the reason why, realistically, all or nothing, like New Year's resolutions, don't work. And we're going to have some more on New Year's resolutions coming up later in the year. But if I say that I'm going to, in 2024, I'm going to get up an hour ahead of my family, and on January 1st, I don't do it. Or maybe I do it on the 2nd, because first I was out late because it was the new year, right? I'm going to try and over and over and over again, I'm not going to wake up an hour early. So, by February, I've already considered it a no, it's not going to happen. And, by March, I'm super frustrated with myself. And I probably have negative self-talk all year long, or at least for several months, because I didn't wake up an hour early. But what if I said that my goal was to wake up, my end goal is to wake up an hour ahead of my family. And I'm going to start by waking up 5 minutes early. So let's say the alarm for my family goes off at, we'll use a real world example, 6:30. Boys' alarms go off at 6:30. I want to wake up ultimately an hour before them, so I'm going to wake up at 6:25. And for the month of January, I'm going to wake up at 6:25. So I'm already waking up 5 minutes earlier than I was in that first example when I said I was going to wake up an hour earlier and I wasn't consistent with it. So now, the month of January, I've woken up 5 minutes early. So then in February, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to wake up 5 minutes earlier. So now I'm at 6:20. And then in March, I'm going to wake up 5 minutes earlier. And now I'm at 6:15. And then in April, I'm going to wake up 5 minutes earlier. And now I'm at 6:10. So you see that over the course of the year, I'm going to wake up an hour before my family, but I've taken it small. And at the end of the year, I can say I wake up an hour ahead of my family instead of shaming and guilting and blaming myself because, well, I wanted to wake up an hour earlier, but now I'm not because I made it too big. So we got to make it small and then keep going, small steps. So in that example I just gave you, by April, I'm waking up 20 minutes early, but I'm not saying I'm waking up 20 minutes earlier. I mean, technically I'm waking up 20 minutes earlier than my family, but I'm not waking up 20 minutes earlier than myself. I'm only waking up 5 minutes earlier. But in reality, I'm waking up 20 minutes earlier than I was. So I'm still keeping it small steps because every month I'm going to say 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. And if there's a day where I hit snooze, if there's a day that I'm not feeling well, if there's a day that I just don't do it, it doesn't mean I've fallen off the train completely. It just means tomorrow I'm going to wake up 20 minutes earlier. Today was a day that I'm going to give myself a break. I'm going to give myself a little grace. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to get back going. If you haven't listened to the episode about giving yourself a break, I encourage you to go do that after this episode. Because we have to give ourselves a break. We can't do it all the time, right? We're not perfect. We're not machines. We're not robots. So sometimes it's just not gonna happen, and that's okay. But we're not gonna miss it twice in a row.
Hey listeners, quick intermission with one of our providers at Hope and Healing, Kristen Wilson, LCSWC, who has started offering a new program at Hope and Healing for our couples called Prepare and Enrich. So, Kristen, could you give us a little more information about that program?
Prepare and Enrich is a service that we'll be offering to premarital couples. It is a strength-based program that utilizes assessment portion and then subsequent sessions to look at that assessment and discuss what are your strengths, what are the areas of growth, what are conversations that you'd like to have as you are leading up to and preparing for marriage. One of the nice things about Prepare and Enrich is that it covers not only a wide variety of areas, but it can be utilized with couples that are in different stages of life as well. So maybe this is your first marriage, maybe it is a blending of families that come into play when you are preparing for this. So the idea is that we can support you in that process and support you in having conversations with your partner and planning ahead for success.
And if someone is listening and is interested in seeking out this service for themselves and their partner, how could they go about inquiring or scheduling an appointment?
Contact us at Hope and Healing. You can go to the website and send us your information and we'll get back with you, or you can give us a call and we'll get you scheduled. There's more than one option when it comes to utilizing this program. This is a set group of sessions. So you will either be choosing to engage in 4 sessions or 8 sessions, depending on what your needs are, what your interests are, and what works for you. The assessment is part of both of those. The skill building, the recognizing our growth areas and working on those are included in both of those sets. So you will get that experience, but just the timing of it might look different depending on your needs.
Yes, so you can give us a call at 301-690-8404 extension 0. If you get the voicemail, make sure that you leave us one so that we can give you a call back within 24 hours. You can also visit our website, like Kristen mentioned, at hopehealingtherapy.com.
And welcome back to the Wing Space podcast. So if I don't wake up, quote, on time today, I'm going to make sure that I do that tomorrow. And maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to consider what happened last night that impacted my ability to wake up early today, so that tonight I can smooth those things out so that I can ultimately get up earlier tomorrow. This falls in line with our very first podcast episode, Start, Keep Going, and Don't Stop. Because when we have a goal in mind and we say we want to accomplish this thing, there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be delays in the process. We just have to keep going. And we can be that process. Our goals can be that process. We just have to keep going. So you might be thinking, I just don't know where to start. What goal should I start with? Well, first of all, we're not going to should on ourselves, because you can start with whatever goal you want to start with. But one of the ways you can consider this is by doing a little bit of visioning, a little bit of daydreaming, if you will, and consider, what do I want my life to look like? What is the persona of the person I want to live and I want to be? So for me, I will tell you that I want to be a healthy individual. And in that, it allows me to be a good example for my clients, my friends, my family, my children. And I can ultimately be healthy in all of the facets of wellness. So what does that look like? What does that look like to live a healthy life, or the life of a healthy person? So consider for yourself, maybe you want to be, the mom that's got it all together. Okay, well, what does that look like? And we're not going to compare ourselves with the social media influencer that, quote, has it all together, because she's got a team of people that help her get it all together. But maybe you want to be the mom that, doesn't have a hurried and harried morning. Okay, we can start there. Or that evenings are not chaos. Okay, so we know what that looks like. Maybe you can consider what you want it to look like. And then what are the behaviors, the habits, the routines that need to occur in order to make that happen? And we start with one thing. We can talk about meal planning and sleep schedules and, sleep hygiene and, setting out our clothes, preparing today for tomorrow. We can talk about all those things, and they're in snippets of podcasts that have already been recorded or podcasts that are coming, so be sure to listen. But really, we cannot go all in, because if we go all in, we're setting ourselves up for failure. Plain and simple. We're setting ourselves up for failure. So I will give you an example of a recent habit that I started. The job that I do, I don't have the ability to go out for lunch and grab food. And if I do, it's not going to be the healthiest because I don't have very many options around. And our evenings are a little bit chaotic at home. So, I might work until 4:30 or 5 or 5:30 or 6 sometimes. And then, we've got an interesting schedule right now where we've got, my husband gets home kind of before everybody, and then one kid stays after for practice. Somebody else comes home from school and from work, and then I come home, and then the husband and one kiddo are leaving to go to the gym, and the other kiddo's coming home from practice. So we have this interesting sweet spot of a time where dinner really needs to be ready so that we can all eat dinner before we go to the gym, after we get home from practice, whatever it might be. So I've started doing basically meal prep for all 3 meals on Sundays. Now, that might sound like a huge endeavor for some of you. And I'll admit, if I would have started that a month ago or 6 weeks ago, it would have not lasted, because you can't start with meal prepping 15 meals and having it work. But what I could encourage you to do is similar to what I did, and that is on Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, depending on where it fits, I look ahead at the week. Okay, so what's coming? I consider what nights we need to have super fast meals, what nights we can have a little bit longer meals, what nights can I make a bigger meal so that the next meal can be leftovers. I just kind of think about the day, the week. I figure out what meals I'm going to make, put them on the calendar for what day I'm going to make them. I make my grocery list. In a perfect world, I upload that grocery list, or I fill out a grocery list to pick up groceries at Food Lion. Or I go to the grocery store, and then on Sunday, kind of middle of the day, early football game watching, I put it all together. It takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I can add, what are my lunches going to be? What's my breakfast going to be? I don't meal prep breakfast and lunch for everybody else because they kind of do their own things. But I can do my own because I've kind of put it in that habit. So I've gotten into a weekly habit of meal prep, which also then puts me into a daily habit of having my meals prepared, so that the morning habit is pack my meals. So I pack my breakfast, pack my lunch. Some nights, like tonight when I'm going from work to a football game, I pack my dinner. But the habit is there. So when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to fueling my body, check, it's done. Because Friday and Saturday I've done meal planning and making the grocery list. Sunday I've picked up my groceries, or I've gone to a grocery store and I've prepared the meal, so it's done. Again, if I would have said to myself 6 weeks ago, okay, we're going to meal prep 3 meals for the whole week, 3 meals a day for the whole week on Sunday, I would have probably just closed the recipe book and not done it. But I know that the vision, the dream, that goal that I want is that I don't want to have to think about every morning what I'm going to eat. I have to eat, but I don't want to think about it every morning. I don't want to have to come home and figure out, what am I going to cook? Because here's the reality. If my mom would have told me that every day for the rest of my adult life, I was going to have to figure out what we were eating for dinner, I might have reconsidered becoming an adult so soon. It's tough, right? Because what I want to eat, maybe they don't want to eat. What they want to eat, maybe I don't want to eat. Oh, and then, by the way, you throw in my celiac and my gluten-free diet, and that just throws a whole nother complication into things. But I can then not be hurried and harried when I come home, rushing home to figure out, oh, I forgot to take something out of the freezer. I got to stop at the grocery store. It's done. And it makes the week flow a little bit smoother, and it's a little softer. We don't have to try so hard. So we could talk about habits forever. I actually follow a couple of podcasts that are just about habits. The whole podcast, every episode is just about habits. But for this introduction and for the next couple of episodes that are coming, I just want you to think about, how do we get into that routine, right? Of being able to do things without thinking about them or without a lot of effort. Sure, it takes time and energy for me to do this meal plan routine. It takes time and energy for me to have a bedtime routine. It takes time and energy for me to have a morning routine. But it doesn't take a lot of excessive worry, because I'm just in it and I just do it, right? The alarm goes off in the morning. I know what I need to do. The things are done. You know, I've set my clothes out in the evening for my workout in the morning so that it's done. And then all I have to do is get up, get dressed, go work out. My water's already filled. My laptop's already ready for if I'm going to use a video or something. So I'm just setting myself up so that it just flows. Instead of having to pull all the pieces together, it's just flowing. So we're going to talk more in the next couple weeks. We're getting into the holiday season. We're going to talk in an upcoming episode about how to stay kind of in good, healthy habits in the holidays around eating. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we can kind of shift our habits or mold and be flexible with our habits as we enter into the holidays, because we know that things are a little bit different. And then we're also going to, in a couple of episodes to come, we're going to talk about how to finish out the year to start the new year. And spoiler alert, we're not talking about New Year's resolutions. Well, we are going to talk about them, but we're going to talk about not creating them and instead setting ourselves up for a year of happiness and health. So this was a lot of information. I feel like I just really scratched the surface on things, but I want to encourage you to consider, what's one habit that you think is unhealthy that you want to stop? How can you remove the cue, make that craving unattractive, and ultimately find the reward satisfying so that you no longer do that unhealthy thing? Or what's a healthy habit that you want to start doing? You're going to put that cue right in front of you. You're going to make sure that craving is attractive, the behavior is easy, and you're satisfied with the reward. And you're going to start small and you're just going to keep going. And then you're not going to stop. Even if you miss today, you're going to keep going tomorrow. So that things just become part of your routine. So thanks for listening today. Would love to hear what ideas you have about habit formation, or maybe a habit that you have kicked, or a habit that you have kick-started. And feel free to shoot us a DM on our socials, or you can always email me, Jennifer@hopehealingtherapy.com. Thanks for listening, and hope you have a great day.